Welcome to my YouTube channel. So, before you get started with my videos, I wanted to mention a few things, some disclaimers. Number one, now, while I am basically, I'm a utilitarian and an atheist, and in today's society, 21st century America, I'm pretty liberal by most standards, and at least on some things. But I don't simply buy into the entirety of the standard liberal canon. So be aware of that. And when I'm talking about certain issues, I'm not always necessarily espousing a viewpoint that is my own. Meaning, what I look for is ideas that people have, really bad ideas. And I want to talk about why they're such bad ideas. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the thing that they were arguing in favor of is necessarily wrong. I make it a habit, actually, to basically never pretend to know things that I don't actually know, you see. So there are a lot of times I don't even necessarily have a viewpoint on what they're talking about, because I don't really have that many facts about it. I don't really know what the right thing is, but I don't really think that they know either. And the difference is, I'm not pretending to. I'm just pointing out the flaws in their argument. Okay? There may even be some things that I may tend to agree with. One thing, for example, you almost can't get on any website today and not see something about gun control. Now, I personally have no interest in gun control and would be fine if the topic just completely disappeared. I don't believe that it's actually the right thing. Okay. That said, I mean, I can't help but talk about it. I can't help but make fun of some of the gun nutty posts that I find that make very bad arguments, and that while I may perhaps agree that gun control isn't a good thing, that vastly overstate the case against it. Okay. So be careful simply assuming that I feel a certain way about something just because of what I'm talking about. Okay. On the other hand, there will also be some topics which I'm, fairly passionate about. So it'll be a bit of a mixed bag as far as exactly how invested I am for any one thing. Okay. And the second disclaimer is I will frequently alter. I'm actually, for this video, I'm being 100% authentic here. I'm always authentic, but I'm being right down the line for this video. I'm using no sarcasm at all. Okay. Don't get used to it. This will be the only one like that. I have a very sarcastic style, and I frequently alternate between sarcasm and not. And I suppose that can make what I say a little bit difficult to understand sometimes. So if I seem to be saying something that you think is incredibly strange, maybe think through it and see if it's maybe you missed the sarcasm or whatever, because my sense of humor is incredibly dry. Okay. The third thing, I will typically use different voices when um, representing an opponent's viewpoint, and it will exaggerate them a little bit. And I do this for effect and because I'm trying to be entertaining. And honestly, because it's the voice that I hear in my head. So it sort of further stereotypes a bit, but I I don't care. Like I said, I'm trying to be entertaining. And finally, the fourth disclaimer: I will use a lot of far out. Oh, there's five. Actually, I forgot one. I will use a lot of sort of far out analogies for things, and so. For example, let's say there's a picture that has Stalin and Hitler and a couple of these mass murderers from the 20th century on there, and they say something about them, some generalization, like, oh, they all wanted gun control. Well, see, my voice came out a little bit there. They all wanted gun control, and therefore, it must be a bad thing. I might point out something like, they all had mustaches. Does that make that a bad thing? That one's a little bit overworn by this point. This is just to give you an idea of what I mean, but sort of a far out analogy. Obviously, the two things are very different. I understand that they're very different. But the reason I'm pointing it out is that the general line of reasoning used, if a lot of bad people do something, then it must be bad, never really provided a clear differentiation between such topics. That is, nothing's really explained there about why that would apply sometimes and not others. And you can't say, well, it's just common sense, because someone else could say, well, it's just common sense not to apply it in your case. So I use a lot of far out analogies. But again, the point is that if somebody is proposing a hypothetical law of some kind, that is some rule of the universe, then it should work in extreme cases as well. So, and finally, the fifth point, the fifth disclaimer, is I do periodically refer to logical fallacies by their names. So that may be a bit abstract for some people who haven't had training in logical fallacies, so to speak. And generally you'll be okay. It's not something I do a whole lot. And you can usually infer what I'm talking about from the context, and it's not like it would take that long to search it on a side window and figure it out anyway. So you might even learn something. I wanted to mention all of these things now. I don't want to have to constantly bring them back up as I do my videos, because I feel like that might break the mood up a bit. So this one was incredibly serious and boring, and all of the good stuff is to come. So I'll see you guys in a moment. Take care.